Hello, I'm the Infinity Theorist, Quake Spinoff Enthusiast, and I am feeling a little bit sick. So, sorry, this video is a little bit lower effort than I would have hoped. Um, there were two original ideas for what this week's video was going to be, both of which will be coming eventually, but again, I'm feeling sick and I haven't really had much time to work on it. And this was supposed to come out on Wednesday. It is now Monday, and now I'm just going to do something simple. I'm going to talk about Ella Minnow Pea, the book that I read. I made a short video on it on TikTok. You can go watch that. Of course, link to everything is in the description as normal. I have my link tree in the description now instead of links individually, so that'll be a little easier to navigate. But sorry, I'm feeling a little sick, and I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about Ella Minnow Pea. So here's the intro. So, Ella Minnow Pea is a book about the fictional island of Nollop, named after the fictional person, Nevin Nollop, who wrote the pangram, pangram being a sentence that contains all letters of the alphabet. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Is it jumped over or jumps over? I can never remember. I have the book with me right here somewhere. Right here. It is, letters. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Yeah. And so this is about the island that's named after him. It's called Nollop. Again, the guy's name was Nevin Nollop. He's a fictional person. And so what happens is there's a statue to Nollop in the middle of the island, and it has his sentence on there, and slowly the letters from the statue start falling off, and as they fall off, the High Island Council decides it's now illegal to use those letters, and as those letters are move away from the or fall off of the statue, the book loses those letters as well, and so then it's written. It's called, what is the word? I know the word. It's a lipogram, meaning it's constrained writing, and so it again loses letters as it goes through. Which I like that. It's very interesting, and I as a writer myself, I do enjoy writing with writing constraints because it does make it a little harder to do things. And yeah, it's a really interesting book. The whole book is a great commentary on like censorship and totalitarianism. I would highly recommend it. Um, so basically, what happens at the beginning of the book is the first letter falls, right? The Z, I think, is the first letter that fell. It was Z. Yeah. And so then after Z fell, there's a little bit of debate as like, okay, well, um, is this actually like is just the High Island Council doing this, or is it, you know, someone else? And what they eventually come to the conclusion is the High Island Council is just acting in their own best interests, and so they want to change that, and they want to make this dystopia, I guess now would be a good word for it, back to its former self, where all the letters are allowed. And again, this island is again named after Nevin Nollop, the guy who wrote that pangram, and so all of the residents are very, they're very good at linguistics and they really like words and things like that, and so that makes it even more special because again they talk differently. I remember there was I don't remember what part of the book, but there was a part of the book where one character says that the Americans find them odd for talking the way they do, and I find that kind of interesting, again because of what the premise of this book is with the letters falling and all of that. And yeah, it's cool. I really like the book. Um, the book is also written in letters, so it's written in the epistolary format. So it's written like handwritten letters. Like dear person, from this person, those kinds of letters that you mail or whatever. It's written in that kind of format, which I find I find that clever because again it's a novel written in letters, and the subtitle on the book is a novel in letters, which is again really interesting because again the premise of the book is that the letters fall off the cenotaph, and it's written in handwritten letters, and I just find that kind of interesting, and I like that. I like how they did that. um and yeah, it's yeah, I just find that really interesting. Also, this book, So what happens later in the book, whenever most of the letters start falling off, the main character of the book is named Ella Minnow Pea. So her and her cousin and a few other peoples, to say peoples, I'm sorry, again, I'm kind of sick, and a few other people, um, work work on what is called Enterprise 32, which is a task from the High Island Council, trying to replace, like, put the letters back where they are, and that's the end of that's the part of that's the plot of the, like, sort of the end of the book. It's the actual how they're trying to get it through, and so what it is they're trying to make a sentence, a pangram with only using only 32 letters, because the original had 36, if I remember correctly, and so the sentence must have a maximum of 32 letters, and if they can have a pangram with 32 letters or less, the illegal letters will be restored. And that was interesting. What they ended up coming up with was pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs, which is actually not even what they came up with. It was what Ella's dad came up with, because again, the main character is Ella Minnow Pea, clever name. Um, her dad Amos came up with that sentence, whenever he was kicked off the island for using illegal letters, um, and he did it accidentally, which is kind of the entire point of the book. So, showing the highlighting council, like, hey, this could have been invented accidentally. And then there's also proof that Nollop didn't even write the sentence later in the story. And yeah, this book also deals a little bit with philosophy, which is kind of interesting, and how the island council thinks that Nollop is like their god, which I find kind of interesting as to how that develops. Because at the beginning of the book, it's like, yeah, this guy was pretty cool, and he wrote a sentence. And now we have a statue of him. Like, that's cool. I like that. That's basic and normal, especially for this town, especially for this not normal town, or not normal island. I like that. The Nollop wrote the sentence, and then later the council, like, as the letters start falling, the council thinks it's Nollop's decision from beyond the grave or whatever, that their letters are falling, but really it's just the adhesive isn't working anymore. And I mean, like, that's obviously the most obvious explanation. That's the scientific explanation, and they still don't think that, you know they think the adhesive stopping, not breaking or whatever, is, or the adhesive stopping working. The adhesive the way the adhesive stops working, they think it's Nollop's doing. Again, no, it's not. It's just how science works. This adhesive was applied 100 years ago. It's gonna fall eventually, and so yeah, it's just, I like it. And there's this I'm sorry, this is low effort video. I'm sorry again. I'm just kind of sick right now, and I didn't have time to prepare a script or anything. I will work harder for the next couple of videos. But yeah, anyway, so this is kind of the yeah, it's just an interesting book. Again, I do have a TikTok where I guess it's a 3 minute TikTok, or it might be a little less than 3 minutes. I don't remember how long it is. Where I talk a little bit faster and more entertaining, and it's shorter form than this. This is just kind of, it's not even an in depth review. This is just kind of talking a little bit about my thoughts. So the book is, again, really good. I did enjoy it. It reminded me a lot of 1984, which I hated 1984, but this book is so much better than 1984, because again, 1984's big deal is with totalitarianism and censorship, right? It's like, um, that's the whole thing, and so, like, Winston is taken in and, like, mind controlled, not mind controlled, brainwashed, and all that stuff, and I didn't like how 1984 ended, and then part two of 1984. If you've read it, you know what that is. I just didn't like it because it was too much, and you could have had an actual plot instead of the whole Vincent and Julia subplot. Um, and also, I liked Animal Farm. Like, George Orwell has written some stuff that I did enjoy, but I did not like 1984. But this one reminded me of a better 1984. So if you're looking for a better 1984, read Ella Minnow Pea. It's a lot lighthearted. It's a lot more lighthearted. It's a lot more, if you're like me and you're like a writer and you like words and you find the English language interesting, I think you would like this. It's not a perfect book. There are some flaws, like the pacing is a little off at some points, but it is a really good book, and I did really enjoy it. It's one of my favorites in the dystopian genre because it's not a dystop. I don't know if you could you classify it as a dystopian genre. If you can, it's one of my favorites. If you can't, it's still one of my favorites of the dystopian genre because I will classify it as a dystopian genre. But it is a really good book. I highly recommend it. If I were to rate it out of 10, I'd probably give it an 8.5, maybe 8.75 out of 10. Um, yeah, it was a really good book. I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, it's Ella Minnow Pea by Mark Dunn, written or published in 2001. It's a really good book. A lot of people haven't heard of it. If I remember correctly, I heard of it from a Vsauce video. I could have heard of it from something else, but I think it was a Vsauce video that I heard of it. And I read it recently. I read it like a couple weeks ago. I read it in 4 days, which is interesting because I read it so quickly because it was so short and it was so fun to read. And yeah, so that is LMNOP. Those are my, little more of my thoughts. Again, I have a TikTok video where I talk about it a little bit, so you can watch that on my TikTok, obviously. And yeah, that's about all I have for this low effort video. Again, I am sorry that it is this low effort. I'm feeling a little bit sick. I will try to make next week's video, which should be in 3 days or whatever, 2 days. Maybe a little bit late. It might be a little bit late because of obviously me being sick. But yeah, I will try to make more videos, and I'll try to make the next few videos better. But this is again low effort. This is probably just gonna have the cover of the book throughout the entire thing. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's my little bit of my thoughts on LMNOP by Mark Dunn. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for sticking to the end and watching this one. Bye.